Hello everyone, welcome to Project Multiverse. My name is Priyam and this is going to be a review of Spider-Man No Way Home. And oh my god, I can talk about so many things like the entire journey since Far From Home leading up to this movie. So many announcements like Alfred Molina returning as Doc Ock or Jamie Foxx returning as Electro and posting that picture on his Instagram. It was all super exciting and once again I can talk about that in the for the whole day, but I want to just give you my review on this movie. And I saw this first day, first show, obviously. And if you, once again, if you have not seen this, if you have not seen this movie, go watch it right now. Although I could totally understand if all of the tickets are getting sold immediately because in my city, the theaters are closed, so I had to like travel like 300 kilometers with my friend just to be able to see this movie, and I would say it was absolutely worth it. And there you go, there you have my initial impression on the movie. But anyway, let's talk about the pacing of the movie first. I think it was pretty well handled, especially because there were so many characters in the movie, and the reason why people hated Spider-Man 3 back in the day or Amazing Spider-Man 2 is because they tried to show too much in a single movie, and I could totally understand why people did not like that. And like I was assuming same would happen in this movie, but it did not really. There were so many characters in one single movie, and it would never feel like, oh my god, this is too much. This is, I mean, yes, it would feel like this is too awesome, but you won't ever feel like this is too much. Too much to process or too much to worry about. Like back in Spider-Man 3, this was not the case. You had an entire different storyline with Venom, or I can say the same about Amazing Spider-Man 2. But then again, I did not personally hate those movies. I loved them, but this is just next level stuff. Okay, moving on. Sinister Six. I guess the reason why they did not choose to do Sinister Six and instead just proceeded with five villains is because they still want to do a Sinister Six. And if they proceeded with the idea of doing a multiversal Sinister Six, fans would not be excited for a normal Sinister Six. Then maybe it's just my assumption. It would not sound as exciting as multiversal Sinister Six, but they could have easily done it. Like they could have included Venom here, or maybe two Green Goblins. Like they could have included. What was his name? Dane DeHaan. I don't really remember the actor's name, but the other Goblin from the Amazing Spider-Man trilogy, or Eddie Brock, the Sonyverse Eddie Brock, or the one from Spider-Man 3. They could have included them and call it Sinister Six, but they did not, and I could totally understand that. Okay, so Toby and Andrew. Toby and Andrew. Oh my god, this is so insane because mm I'm a huge fan of both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and I love Tom Holland too because the way I see it is all three of them play different versions of Spider-Man. It's not like they are playing the same character and we're supposed to compare them like this is better, this is better. All of them are different. Amazing Spider-Man is amazing. Tobey Spider-Man is the classic one. MCU Spider-Man is the most comic accurate, you can say, uh, Spider-Man. And so seeing all of them in a single movie was just super insane. I'm like super. Uh, I'm still processing all that stuff. Like it was so exciting when that portal opened and Andrew came in. I avoided all the spoilers, by the way. So the time when I saw that scene in the theater, the guy right in front of me, because I was sitting in the most back seat, the guy in front of me literally threw his popcorn. So you can see how excited people were to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield return. And so once again, Toby, when Toby showed up, I wasn't really expecting Toby to show up that quick. Although when Andrew Garfield showed up in that scene, I was pretty sure that Toby is definitely in this movie because why not? If Andrew is here, why not Toby as well? So when Andrew showed up, I did not expect Toby to come in that quick, but he did, and I personally screamed so loud. I don't think you guys should ever scream in a theater that much, but I just couldn't help myself. It was super nostalgic to see that. Speaking of nostalgia, by the way, this I also love how they treat uh, um, all of the previous franchises in this movie. Like, I wasn't really expecting so many callbacks. For example, the iconic scientist meme from Willem Dafoe, and the power of the sun in the palm of my hands by Doc Ock. Hearing that along with the theme of his character was super insane. Like, oh my god, I just cannot comprehend how it felt. Like, it wasn't really shown in the trailer. It almost felt like, what is this? Is this? They try to confuse people. Actually, they didn't really. In the trailer, when Doc Ock showed up, he called Peter, "Hello, Peter," and we all were thinking, how does he even know Peter in this scene? So they try to confuse us, but in the movie, everything was so well shown. Like, Doctor Strange did not do that spell uh, that easily, like the way they portrayed in the trailer. So all of that was pretty, I'd say, much better in the movie. And so moving on, there were a few missed opportunities, I would say, because once again, everything has a flaw. And one of them would be the court scene with Daredevil. And how can I not mention Charlie Cox yet? So, Charlie Cox, when he showed up, once again, theater, everyone was screaming. It was really nice to see him return, and once again, seeing all these characters return, what excites me more is what Marvel Studios could do in the future. Because if you could do something like this, you could literally do anything. Like, bring Sherlock in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. They can do literally anything. So once again, seeing Daredevil in that scene, I was super happy, because I guess I would say the Daredevil show is one of the best Marvel content out there. So, yep, there's nothing much to talk about his character, since he was literally shown for 16 or maybe 18 seconds, and in those seconds, he just rocked it. It was insane. So, I was talking about some missed opportunities, and one of them would be a courtroom scene, like in that. A courtroom scene where Matt Murdock is representing Peter Parker and fighting the law, doing all that cool stuff. It would have looked pretty great. But then again, I totally understand why they would have cut it from the movie, although I can't say I do understand. Maybe they just did not film it. I'm just assuming, because it's not something you would try to miss when you show Matt Murdock. Maybe they removed it because they did not want to make it so much about other characters. Maybe, just my assumption. But then again, I would have loved to see it. Now, some other things, like, this is the multiverse we're talking about, my friends, and I do uh, I would say yes, it was portrayed in a really good way. Like, yes, you bring all these characters. Willem Dafoe also mentions, like, when he hears MJ, he says, Mary Jane. Like, yes, there are so many talks about the multiverse, everyone is confused and stuff. But I was expecting Toby to talk more about those characters. Like, since he was the oldest Spider-Man right there, he I expected him to get surprised to see this version of Dr. Connors, or I wanted him to like talk about some other characters, like, hey, if you guys see this, watch out. Yeah, I was expecting something like that, and it did not happen. Although, once again, I totally understand. Uh, he still did shine in the movie, like that organic web shooter scene. I loved it. I loved that they reference it. I also love how he called Andrew Garfield Spider-Man amazing, because he literally is amazing. He's the only amazing Spider-Man in the MCU. In the Marvel world. Wow. Okay, forget about it. Marvel multiverse, I can say. So yes, I loved how Tobey Maguire Spider-Man had some good scenes, but then again, uh, they could have shown more. Although I'm not complaining. Is this sounding like a complaint? No, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, no, nothing is perfect, and so these are some flaws in my perspective. I'm sure you might have some things to say about this as well. So feel free to. Uh, Now, also, one more thing that they did not ask Tom Spider-Man was, where is his Uncle Ben? Like, I was expecting, at least I was expecting Tom to say something like, where is Uncle Ben? Or maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe Uncle Ben is just roaming around New York. They don't really know each other that well. Tom Spider-Man, Tom's Peter Parker, should I say, and his Uncle Ben. But then again, I really was expecting the other Spider-Man to talk about Uncle Ben of this universe, or maybe even meet him if possible. It's fine though. Soundtrack implementation is also really good. I loved how they implemented Danny Elfman's theme as well as the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man theme from TASM 1, and I was expecting to hear the TASM 2 theme. Uh, but then again, the TASM 1 theme is also nice, and I guess it's from an artist who passed away, so uh, it makes sense to it does make sense for them to show this theme instead. Moving on, we did not have any no like heroic entrances like when Black Panther showed up in Endgame. It was pretty a really strong moment because everyone like Captain needs help and someone has to show up, and there was no moment like that in this movie. And I kind of once again, I was saying it before, I did not expect Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man to show up that quick. I was expecting a heroic moment like portal open, all these two Spider-Men are in trouble, and he's like he comes right in, something like that. But there are no scenes like that, and I think it kind of makes sense because then it would be like someone came in to save the day, and it would not do justice to Tom's Spider-Man movie. So maybe that's why they did not do it, and instead try to make it low key. I would have preferred to. Would have preferred that, but then again, I can say I totally understand why they would do something like this. Uh, but then again, I loved Andrew Spider-Man. I think he stole the movie. He literally stole the movie, just like how Johnny Bernthal stole Daredevil season 2. I think Andrew Spider-Man does deserve some recognition here. I'm sure he's getting recognized because people are literally doing this hashtag make TSM3, and I'm not one of those people on Twitter because I'm not using Twitter lately, but I really want to see TSM3. And even better, I want to see Andrew Garfield be the default Spider-Man for Sony's universe, and let Tom Holland be the Spider-Man of MCU. It could work, in my opinion. It could definitely work. It has worked with Batman, although I don't think they were running side by side. But there are so many Bruce Waynes. Like there's this one in this show called Titans. There's other Bruce Wayne in Gotham, Nolan trilogy, Justice League, The Batman. So many Bruce Waynes. We could have so many, like at least two Peter Parkers, and I would love to see um, a Logan-like movie with Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I've read so many comments about this one, and I could totally see that. So make a movie, like do something, Sony. Come on, give us a TSM3 as well as Logan-like Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire if Sam Raimi directs it. Okay, so moving on. What else do we have? I have this bullet list of the things I want to talk about because I'm not really much familiar with podcasts. I'm trying to do this. Now, Willem Dafoe was insane in the film. I think he was my favorite villain in this movie because he was so spookier than he was in Spider-Man 1. Especially that scene where Tom Holland Spider-Man is punching him and he's literally just not just smiling. He's forcing himself to face him and then shows him his smile. Like I could totally see him being the Joker of the new Batman franchise, the Batman franchise, should I say? So that was a Joker moment right here, and I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved how he's so evil and unpredictable in this movie. I did not really expect Aunt May to die. Like that. Once again, I it had to be in the battleground or something. But then again, I think it made sense for her to die because now we have a whole new Spider-Man, whole not whole new Spider-Man. We can say a whole new perspective on this Spider-Man because now he does not have any Stark technology. He does not have any rich friends, although he did not have rich friends either before either. He had Happy though, so he does not have any Stark tech. He does not have any of that stuff. Although I'm kind of confused about some things. Like we'll get on that later, but the ending is pretty sad. I would say it was pretty emotional to see no one recognizing Peter. It's so depressing to think about. Like put yourself in that perspective. Nobody's recognizing you in the entire world. That sounds like the most depressing thing ever. But there are some advantages to this Peter Parker. Like, he knows who's gonna be Doc Ock. He knows Norman Osborn is going to be bad. So it would be pretty interesting for him to be able to interact with these characters somewhere in the upcoming. I guess it's gonna be a college trilogy of this Peter Parker. So once again, so many interesting stuff. To explore with this Peter Parker, and I would say this movie was just amazing. Okay, so I was talking about the things I'm confused about. First things first. When Doctor Strange did that identity eraser spell, is he erased from all the legal documents as well? Like, what about his passport? If he is erased from everywhere, how is that going to work? How is he going to get admitted to MIT or something? So I think it's not what happened really. He just made everyone forget who Peter Parker is, and he does still exist uh, in legal documents, maybe, or maybe I'm thinking too much about this. The other thing is, will we see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire return again in the MCU? And I guess there was this guy who's pretty well known for his leaks and stuff. He did say yes. So if he does, if I mean, if they do return, I would love it. I would love to see it. Now, one more thing here. Tom Hardy's Venom did show up in the first post credit. The second one was a trailer for Multiverse of Madness. So what the hell was that? So if you have not seen Let There Be Carnage, in the post credit of that movie, he travels to this universe. And in this movie, he travels back to his universe, confirming that he is not in the MCU. So, if he's not in the MCU, think about it. Which universe is he in? Toby's Venom is already dead. Tom still does not have any Eddie Brock, and so this Eddie Brock, in my opinion, probably belongs to Andrew Garfield's universe. Because if you think about it, they have similar age, like that Peter Parker, that Eddie Brock, and it would make sense for them to face off each other, not Tom Holland Spider-Man. He's pretty young to face that sort of Venom. So it was pretty interesting to see that that Eddie Brock came to this universe. He left a bit of symbiote. Although what I'm confused about is how are they going to make it work? Like, is it gonna be what the next Spider-Man movie is gonna be about? Like, that symbiote will just grab Eddie Brock or something, or Eddie Brock of this universe or something. So many questions, and that's why we have so much to talk about in the future. So stay tuned. That's all I wanted to talk about, and yep, that's pretty much it. If I had to give a score to this movie, it would be 10 out of 10. Yes, no exceptions. 10 out of 10, and I would say this is my favorite superhero movie of all time. Maybe some factors do include nostalgia. I'm pretty nostalgic about certain things. Spider-Man, I always loved Spider-Man. But yes, it's just a personal opinion. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for listening, should I say? And stay tuned. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.